The Exodus Decoded with Simcha Jabovich and James Cameron of the Titanic movie fame, Terminator, etc. It's a chronicle of a new timetable for the Bible's Exodus, which is the heart of Judaism, Christianity and Islam, recreated with stunning special effects. Okay, it's a great documentary series, but we realise some things that they're saying were way off, wacky, not true. So if we pause it halfway through it, we won't go through the whole thing because it's an hour and a half long. It's far too long. Okay, we'll point out where they're going wrong. Okay, there's no copyright infringement intended, etc. This is just an example, especially for our brother Christians and sisters.
In the last scenes of a very famous movie, The Lost Ark of the Covenant, the box that once held the Ten Commandments is crated and abandoned in the basement of a warehouse. What if Hollywood's depiction accurately reflects reality? This would mean that hiding somewhere, there's tangible proof of the story the Bible calls the Exodus, the deliverance of the Israelites from Egypt, led by the prophet Moses. Well, right here in this building, there's a 3,500-year-old gold image carved, perhaps by an eyewitness to the biblical Exodus, of the lost Ark of the Covenant. And the people in there don't realize it.
And he goes on to talk about the Ark of the Covenant. Let's skip ahead a bit. These are all different people's views. Those who are for the Bible and those who are against it.
Where 60 Egyptian pharaohs were buried amidst the splendor the world has never equaled. Archaeologists,
what can you dig up which is going to prove the Exodus? What would you have to find in order to prove the Exodus?
The Exodus story is at the very heart of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. For thousands of years, believers have treated it as historical fact. But in the past few decades, scholars have called the story a fairy tale. I'm James Cameron, and I know a filmmaker who for nearly a decade has been on a mission to answer a 3,000-year-old question. Is the Exodus fact or fiction? His name is Simcha Jacobovich, and he's a two-time Emmy winner in investigative journalism. He claims that scholars have missed the archaeological evidence that's hiding in plain sight. More than that, he seems to have come up with the goods by putting together the long-forgotten pieces of the ultimate archaeological mystery.
How did we do it? By tracking down experts from a variety of disciplines who rarely, if ever, talk to each other. None of them fully subscribes to our take on the story, but many possess critical pieces of the puzzle, and what emerges challenge even the most skeptical. But before we show you the evidence, let's start the story at the beginning. The biblical tale begins when the Hebrew patriarch Jacob escapes drought in the land of Canaan, modern Israel, and moves to the land of plenty, the land of the pyramids, ancient Egypt. There, Jacob's clan, the future Israelites, flourish in their new environment. In fact, Jacob's son Joseph became as powerful as the rulers of Egypt, the pharaohs.
Now, many say, well, Joseph never existed, there's no records, etc., etc. No proof that he was actually a pharaoh or part of that court. But Simsa Jovovich, etc., goes on to tell that an archaeologist actually finds court signet rings under a pile of dirt, verifying that there were these non-Egyptians in these courts at that time. And later on he goes on and talks about the Noah story, the Moses story, where Moses was found in a reed basket floating on the river Nile by the Pharaoh's daughter and adopted as a son, etc., etc., which in comparison is can be compared from the much older tale of, or legend of, Sargon I. Okay, it's a similar claim, you can say it's a similar claim, that he too was abandoned and found in a reed basket floating on a certain river, and he was taken in by somebody and so forth. Okay, and then later on, as you have in the Bible scriptures, there's Herod, the ruler over the many Jews in the New Testament, etc., who supposedly created a mass genocide, murder of infants under 2 years old, the innocents. Is there any evidence, records, tablets, etc., that these things happened? Apparently there isn't. We may find an old record, supposed record, of the Romans or whoever that testify that this thing happened, right? It has the Noah's Ark. What's the evidence for that? It's all coming from the Babylonian cuneiform tablets. A god, part of a pantheon of many other gods, spoke to a certain boat builder and says, look, you've got to survive on. Take your family. Here's plans to build this ark, and you all survive on. And according to Irving Finkel's translation of those Babylonian cuneiform texts, he created a replica of that ark according to those instructions on how it should be built. And it turned out to be a coracle which is round. Okay, it's not the banana shape or the watermelon shape that you see in those pretty little books the kids have at Sunday school. Okay, it's nothing like that, and it's nothing like a sushi roll or a sausage roll or anything else. Okay, so that's why we're trying to wake brothers in the Christ, sisters in the Christ, up to these mini documentaries or docu-series that are highly hyped and often sensationalistic. Later on it goes on about the Hyksos expelled from Egypt, who travelled to a certain area and created for themselves a city, Avaris, or Sion. S-I-O-N, this is the first Sion before they went to Israel and created that Sion, the new Sion, right? How far is it away from Central Egypt itself? The kingdom of the pharaohs, with the pyramids, etc., etc. And further on, they explain the 10 plagues upon Egypt, the Passover, where these 10 plagues affected the Egyptians because they wouldn't let Moses' people go, the Hebrews go. Okay, so God put all these plagues upon them, which were 1, blood red Nile, it turned to blood. 2, frogs. 3, lice. 4 flies, 5 epidemic, 6 boils, blisters, man and beast, 7 ice and fire mixed together, a miraculous blending together of fire and ice, which he later says, well, it was ice and then it was followed by fire due to the Centauri volcanic eruption. Okay, at first we got the impression it was ice within a block of fire or a rock of fire or something like that. Okay, but then we heard him say something completely different. Okay, there's plagues. Number 8. Yeah, fire and ice together in the same time. Maybe locusts. Darkness. Ash clouds. Passover. That's where the spirit of death went over Egypt and killed the male firstborn or heirs of the Egyptians. And he explains, well, the older sons, male sons, had beds that were on a lower level, and all the rest slept up on the rooftops. So that's why the ones on the bottom died. But we have read somewhere else that the eldest sons, or the male sons, older male sons, had the choice of the first meal, right? They were the ones that ate first, and then the younger kids ate after them. So they could dip into these pots of wheat or grain or whatever they had, right, and cook it up, have it cooked up and eat that, right? But apparently, because they didn't turn it over, the bottom wheat or grain started to mold or ferment, okay, and it was affecting the rest of it, and they kept putting new wheat or grain on top of the other one. They never turned it over, and that's why they got ill and died. And so many variations to it. So again, we're trying to wake people up to those differences. Okay, apparently in the darkness or ash cloud, prior to that there was pumice that came from the sky. Apparently they're saying on here that they actually got washed up and stuff like that. Okay, we also asked the question if the Hyksos or supposed Israelites created the kingdom of Avaris, or was already created for them and they just populated it, was Sion, and King Amos attacked it but was killed. That's Kamos, King Kamos. His brother attacked it but was killed. And then in revenge, his son attacked it and died. And maybe the queen trained up her other son that was left in the art of war. He was 10 years old at the time. And then when he's about 20, he attacked Avaris and drove the Hyksos out, or the queen turned king to wear the false beard. She wore a false beard. Did according to the Egyptian hieroglyphs. See Dr. John Clark's or Dr. Ben Yochahan's video, Visit of Egypt, where he actually explains it. We're trying to find it. We did see it before. Yeah. Avaris was in the land of Goshen. Yam Suf, Reed Sea, a lake, the Reed Sea, not the Red Sea. Hieroglyphics on a granite stele, 3 waves, 2 knives. That verifies the story of this great flood. Exodus chapter 14. At Pikaroti, Patufi, Al-Balah lake, the lake where God devoured, right? He devoured all those Egyptians, which when they created the Suez Canal, it dried up everything, so now you can practically drive through the Sea of Reeds, or the Reed Sea, and so forth. So this Simcha Jovovich has done quite a bit of research, but we were, some of the things he said, it's like he was then changing it. So he decided to look online and see what it was all about, what actually went down. Okay, here's the Urban Dictionary definition of shill: a person engaged in covert advertising. The The shill attempts to spread buzz by personally endorsing the product in public forums with the pretense of sincerity. He's like, yeah, it's really great, you really love it, I tried it, when in fact he is being paid for his services. Shill in conspiracy terms, a shill is a person who is pretending to agree with conspiracy and intentionally circulates false information or acts totally insane in an effort to discredit said conspiracy. Shills are often thought to be hired by the government but don't necessarily have to be. The media loves shills because it's easy to strawman their false arguments and link their crazy unproven claims to all believers of said conspiracy. And there's plenty more definitions. A word used by conspiracy theorists when they are losing an argument. The word originally referred to an accomplice of a travelling salesman selling quack remedies or similar items of dubious value. The conspiracy theorist calls their opponent a shill in an attempt to discredit them by implying that they are paid agents working for the government, the Bilderbergers, reptilian overlords, the Rothschilds, etc., because of course only such people could possibly disagree with them. See those trails behind that plane? They're not disappearing within seconds, therefore they must be chemtrails. The government are trying to poison us all. Wake up, sheeple. No, persistent contrails are the result of certain atmospheric conditions at certain altitudes, very similar to cirrus clouds, and if the government was trying to poison the population in this way, it would be a very inefficient one and also a very indiscriminate one, which would kill the elite as well as the general population. Plus, global population has grown from 3.6 million in the 1970s to over 7 billion now. So if they're trying to reduce the world population, they're going about it the wrong way, or in a strange way. Shh, dishonest information, disinformation. Shill, disinformation agent. That's what these people put there. That's what this guy is. Okay. And there's more definition. A person who pushes wild, often conspiratorial ideas without base in logic or in fact onto those around them and expect instant fame and or appreciation for doing so, and so forth. So that's a shill. Okay, and in this Exodus Decoded, they go on about the burning bush. So we decided to take a look at the original ancient, very old Exodus. Okay, from the sacred old scribal tongue or language, the Lishana Artica Cypriot of the original Ketav Asherit, this older sister language of the Ketav Ivri, or the original ancient Hebrew. What they're using today is Israeli Hebrew, a modern Hebrew. Okay, so you're saying about a burning bush. Going to go down to Exodus 2. Okay, actually no, going further than that. This is Exodus 3, which states or reads, "And Moses shepherded the herds of Jethro, his king priest, and he fetched some sheep for the altar, and he came to the mountain of God at Korev. And there appeared to him the angel of the Lord through the waves of fire from inside the sun disk," not a burning bush, "and he saw that the sun disk itself did not burn up. And Moses said, let me see, this must be indeed a great vision. That is why the disk is not burning up. And the Lord saw that he was approaching to look closer, and so God called him from inside the disk, and he said, Moses. And Moses said, behold, it is I. Yep, that's me, bruh. And he said to him, do not come near, take off your sandals, because the land that you stand on is holy ground. And he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And Moses hid himself from the faces, he saw one or more, that he saw it because he was afraid to look at God. And the Lord said, I have indeed seen the slavery of my people in Egypt, and I have heard the agonies of the enslavement, because I know what ails them. And I have come down to deliver them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to take them up from this land to an expansive and good land, to a land that flows with milk and honey, to the land of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. Does it mention anything about parasites? And now, behold, the agony of the children of Israel has reached me, and I can also see the persecution by which the Egyptians oppressed them. Now come, I will send you to the Pharaoh, or to the king, and take my people, the children of Israel, out of Egypt. And God said to him, I will be with you, and this is a sign that I am sending you. Oh, okay, because Moses said to God, "Who am I to go to the Pharaoh or the king and bring out the children of Israel out of Egypt?" And Moses said to God, God said to him, "I will be with you, and this is the sign that I am sending you, where you conduct the exodus of the nation, the liberation of the nation from Egypt. You shall work here before God on this mountain." That's where all they'll do their worship, etc. Right? And Moses said to God, "Behold, as I go to the children of Israel and say to them, the Lord God of your ancestors has sent me over to you, and they tell me, what is his name? What shall I say to them?" And God said to Moses, "He Asher He," and his footnote indication there. And he said, "This is what you will say to the children of Israel, He has sent me over to you." And again God said to Moses, "This is what you should tell the children of Israel, that the Lord God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, sent me over to you. This is his name to the end of the universe. And this is how you, the house of Israel, shall commemorate me, God, or Allah, from the century to the end of all the centuries." Okay, so that's his name. And that's how they should honour him, commemorate him, to the end of all the centuries, the end of time. And that's his name there. He Asher He, which means, when translated, okay, so Moses had visions or manifestations. He saw visions or manifestations. 3:14, literal Aramaic. 1. Ahiyah, the one who comes in his coming, the absolute sense of the one who comes. 2. Asher, the beginning spark that kindles the fire or the light. So that verifies that Christ is the light, which says Christ is the light, everlasting fire, etc., that he is God. He is coming, for same way Asher signifies the uncreated creator who creates everything from nothing. 6. Also Asher signifies above the flames. We can do a video on that. It's an ancient Mesopotamian winged disc icon. Okay, so that's basically it. No burning bush. He saw God in or on a flying disc, a flaming flying disc, as it states here. Okay, at Ku-Rev, wherever that is. And there appeared to him the angel of the Lord through the waves of fire from inside the sun disk. And he saw that the sun disk itself did not burn up, a messenger of the Lord, right? And Moses said, "Let me see this. It must be indeed a great vision. That is why the disk is not burning up." And the Lord saw that he was approaching, etc., etc. So he called to him, Moses, from inside the disk. He said, "Moses," and Moses said, "Yep, look, it is I. That's me." Okay. Moses hid himself from the faces, the visions, the manifestations that he saw, because he was afraid to look at God. Because it's written that no man can look upon God and hope to live. They'll die instantly. So this is what he had here. Exodus 3:6, literal Aramaic idiom, or way they express it. Retained visions or manifestations. Okay. So this video saying it's the burning bush, they're actually incorrect. It's just Exodus chapter 4, is this the same one? Okay. Part 2. We are continuing with part 2 of our prior video, and this here is Dr. Henrik Clark, who's long passed, but he had information about Egypt. And there's another one, being Dr. Ben Yochanan, that went to Egypt with another person or a couple of other people and actually read the hieroglyphs, told them the history of what the Egyptians had written down, had carved into the pillars, etc. Explained it all. Okay, I can't find any video referring to him or what he looks like here. Yeah, and he told him exactly what happened there, and he talks extensively, especially John Henry Clark, about the Exodus story. Okay, what really went down. There's two sides of the coin. You've got the supposed Jew, Hebrew, Israelite version, and you've got these Pan-African and Egyptian versions according to their records, and it's very, very different.